Okay, I just finished chapter 1 and I have so many thoughts. First, I did not remember that interesting social commentary with it being the same day as Independence Day in the US. And I don't know, it was almost like that sounded familiar, but I wouldn't have been able to tell you that. So it may have been in the original and I just didn't remember. But I'm also just really struggling with the voice actor for the Audible version that I'm listening to because I feel like I just have what's his name? All I can think is Howie Mandel. That's definitely not right. The guy that plays Haymitch in the 3 movies, I just have his voice in my head as Haymitch. And so then when this other, and I mean he's doing a good job voice acting objectively, but it's just weird for me when I'm hearing Haymitch's inner thoughts or whatever and it doesn't sound like what is the guy's name? Haroldson. Harold. I don't know. Anyway, I'll look it up after. Or maybe it'll be a fun thing for me to just wait for the train to come back around. Because I know this man's name is just like, I'm blinking right now. Anyway, so I am struggling with that a little bit. I'm like, this feels disjointed. It doesn't feel like the Haymitch that I know. I love Lenore Dove's character. I love that she's Cubby. I think that's a really interesting nod. It's like everyone is tied to the Covey in these 3 series. I don't know. Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. You had Lucy Gray. Now you have Lenore Dove in this one. And in the Hunger Games, I mean, Katniss. Maybe they don't call themselves the Covey anymore, but it's pretty clear that she is part of the Covey. Or like descended from the Covey. So I love the tie to them, the musical folks. And I love that they draw people in. I feel like the way they've kind of been described as people are just kind of captivated by them and by their music and their charisma. And I love the nod. I'm assuming it's Katniss's dad is Haymitch's best friend. I think that's going to be a really it's going to be interesting to see how that develops. I definitely think the necklace or the charm that she gave Haymitch for his birthday is gonna come into play for sure. And I was trying to picture they were like a sea and there it's a bird and it's a snake, but I'm assuming it's the picture on the cover of the book. But I do feel like it's almost a nod back to that Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I'm really curious how it's going to come into play. I feel like there's symbolism there, and I'm not quite sure what it is. But I do get the sense that it's a symbol of rebellion to some degree, even if it's just for Lenore Dove and her family. Also, Tam Amber made an appearance. And again, that kind of made sense. I was like, oh, would he be old enough to be like this generation's dad? But I think that is logical for like the amount of time that would have had to pass for it to be Haymitch's lifetime, but Snow's still alive and all that good stuff. But I was like, I remember you from Ballad of Songbirds. I also thought it was interesting when they were like, when her mom died and there was no talk of the dad, I was like, is this Snow's daughter? But I don't know how that would have worked. After Lucy Gray like disappeared, I doubt she went back to District 12 if she survived. But it was interesting how they framed it. Well, I guess just in general, the storyline, I think they're definitely painting the picture that the townies are different than the seam. There's a clear class differential. Also, and I love getting a glimpse of Katniss's mom when she's younger. It seems like she has a really big heart and she's kind of stepping out of that snobby townie role and is actually reaching out to folks in the seam. And I think that's a really cool addition. I think so much of what we see of her, she's already like checked out and dealing with like extreme trauma and grief. And so it's kind of nice to see that, you know, how she was before the death of her husband. Also, just the ending with the reaping. I loved the way Suzanne Collins did this when they were drawing the second boy's name and it wasn't Haymitch. I was like, what? Like, how does that work? You know, like how is one of them gonna get sick and they're gonna do a second reaping? I was trying to figure it out as they were going through it. She even built it up of like the Chase boys, they are like rebellious and they're overly rebellious. So she was painting the scene. I just was slow on the uptake. And so then when he like bolted, I was like, oh, this is this is it. But yeah, definitely. I mean, these books, they have very graphic imaging when they were like, yeah, shot from the rooftop, and they blew off the back of his head. It's like, oh, okay, that's graphic. But anyway, yeah, I thought that was really interesting. It's like, man, Haymitch had his name in there, I think it was 20 times, and he made it out. He was fine. And then this other kid kind of doing this rebellious act kind of doomed him, which really sucks. But I mean, props to the rebellious kid. Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine in that scenario. It's like, hey, I'm probably not going to survive. At least let me make a stand. So I can definitely appreciate that. Even if he knew he probably would not survive running, you know? I mean, there was peacekeepers everywhere. But at least he's kind of going out with a bang instead of just being like one of the many in the games. But yeah, definitely threw me for a loop because when she went to draw the second name, I was like, oh, well, we know it's going to be Haymitch, but it couldn't be that easy, you know? So that was kind of a cool twist. Those are my thoughts on chapter 1.